Hi, I'm Sarah Farmer. I created Able and Extraordinary so I can be there to help you and your child. For over 20 years, I've been in public education as a leader, as an administrator, as a special education teacher, and I've enjoyed those years and tremendously and I've learned so much. But what I found out on my journey is that I'm only able to help part of the day, and my interaction with families has been limited. And one of the things I enjoyed as a leader is being able to work with families, caretakers, providers a lot more closely. And so I'm starting this business, Able and Extraordinary, because I believe you are able. I believe all children are extraordinary. And it definitely takes a team to support students and through their journeys and help them reach their potential. So I'm going to go over a little bit of what Able and Extraordinary is all about. Able and Extraordinary, and it's on the premise of no labels, no limits, from one of my favorite books, Buzzy the Bumblebee, if you haven't ever read it. What we're going to talk about today is the pillars of success, the services that are available to you, how you can contact me, and any questions that you may have that you want to follow up on. So let's talk about the pillars of success. What does that mean? When we talk about educating students, there are so many components that go into their success. And through my journey, I have pieced together and looked at research to see what are those pieces. And I have found that success. I found that success time and time over again in the classroom with students, whether I work with them individually, with a group, privately as a tutor, or within the public education system. But let's first talk about disabilities and how they've changed. More and more students are being identified with disabilities, and identification has changed. So it's gotten a lot more specific and tailored to the strengths and needs of the students. So look at OHI or other health impairment, which typically includes students with ADHD or ADD. Look at autism, look at learning disability, look at developmental delay. In 1976, there were very few students identified in these areas, and now they have just multiplied by 2019. And awareness has increased. So as more and more families and society has realized that students have unique needs, we want to make sure we identify students in the most correct way. But again, labels only get you so far. So let's talk about, have schools increased their expectations since you were in school? I remember when I started in elementary school and in kindergarten, I was able to take naps. We did finger painting. We did make-believe. We had dress-up time. Those days are over in our kindergartens. We don't see that anymore. So in my opinion, they definitely increased the expectation in schools. And what is the point of school? The point of school is that we learn and that we grow and that we eventually become successful in life. Well, what does success mean? A lot of times we consider success to be based on a job or employment that we have and success within that. But if you look at the statistics, individuals with disabilities are significantly underemployed when it comes to professional jobs. So ages 21 to 64 with all races, all educational levels, employment rate is low, especially individuals with disabilities. So what is that? Is that because the individuals themselves are not prepared for the employment world? Is it that the professional world isn't prepared for individuals with disabilities and how to support them? So let's talk about the pillars of success. What do we consider to be success? Are we shooting for the best that anyone could be? Are we shooting for a job? What are we shooting for? Well, it's okay if the target changes, and if it's different for everyone, we can still focus on those 5 pillars. So again, I have pieced together the 5 pillars that will lead to success in students. And I have implemented this throughout my teaching and leadership career and have seen success time and time again with students. So these are also based on research, and I believe it's very important to look at research. A lot of times in public education, we're limited and unable to implement research-based practices the way they're meant to be. So all support services for students should be based on research and what works. So the first is explicit instruction. So what does explicit instruction mean? Explicit instruction means there is a very particular skill that the student is working on, and you are targeting that. So for example, if a student is learning to read, think about all the components of reading. You have fluency, you have comprehension, you have vocabulary, you have phonics, you have phonemic awareness. There are so many components of reading. Think about writing, all the components of writing. You have spelling, you have written expression, you have sentence organization, you have grammar, you have punctuation, all those things. But instead of teaching everything, what are those deficits that the student has? And let's focus on that. So if the student is struggling with learning blends, let's target those blends and let's provide targeted instruction with those blends until the student is able to achieve success. But it is a systematic method of teaching in small steps. And that's what special education is all about, an individualized instruction. The second pillar is growth mindset. What does that mean? That means that mistakes are okay. Learning is going to be hard. And smart is not what you know, but smart is your ability to learn and how much you're able to learn over time. So we can't think about mistakes as wrong or failures. We need to look at mistakes as learning. And we can learn through those mistakes. And failure is only the opportunity to begin again. But this time you know more. So let's keep going and reach that next milestone. The third pillar is positive relationships. No one can work successfully without a positive relationship and who you're working with. And having those positive relationships, encouraging each other, supporting each other, building each other's self-esteem and confidence is so important in that relationship. No one grows without trust. You have to have a good rapport and trust and understanding in each other to help each other along this journey. The fourth pillar is no limits. Children have no limits. There is no ceiling. Who knows where students can go? We should have a high bar, but should we even have a bar at all? Let's keep that bar moving up. There's no limits what students can do. I have children and they amaze me every day and do things I never expected them to do, whether they're things I'm happy about or things that kind of shock me. They're just incapable of limits. So let's not put limits on them. And the last is motivation. I've worked with students with very significant disabilities who are nonverbal, who need assistance eating, and I've worked with gifted students. And no matter what your IQ, your performance increases if you're motivated. I've had students who do not know how to talk, but they want to. And I've had individual students who have huge aspirations of where they want to go to, and they're motivated and they get there. I have other students who have given up or have no self-esteem or lack of self-confidence or don't even really care. Motivation plays a huge role, and research does support that too, that if you are motivated, your learning is going to greatly increase and improve. So those are those pillars of success. You need all those in place. And if you have all those in place, success is guaranteed. But again, what do you define as success? So what has led to your success? Has it been the experience and practice of the skills that it takes to be in that job? Have you had success because you've made mistakes, but you've moved forward without it? Have you been successful because you've had support from your family and friends? Has there been someone that's believed in you? How about the desire to do your best? Has that pushed you to success? Well, I'd like to say for me, all those things. I have had failures in my life. I've had successes, but I think it takes all these things. Now, some of you have one or two, but imagine if you had all five. If you had all five paths to success, think about all the things that you could achieve. So let's talk about services. So how do we get there? Welcome to AbleandExtraordinary.com, where you have a lot more information at your fingertips to find out more about the services and those pillars of success. So within the menu bar, you do have pillars of success that will go through each of the pillars, and we'll give you a little bit more information about those. And we'll also give you videos and tips about what that could look like. Services, there are several different services that can be provided. You can choose one, you can choose two, you can choose all of them. It's whatever you feel is most important for your family and your child to reach their goals. So the first is an educational assessment. It's a comprehensive approach to evaluate your child to see what their strengths are, what their learning strengths are, what their learning needs are, and that can pull in a whole bunch of different information. Big part of it is your input as parents and any other caregivers or any other providers that have information, in addition to the assessments that I would complete. They are research-based. There's some that are informal. There's some that are formal. There are some that are more standardized. There's criterion referenced. So this assessment and the tools that are used are really based on what you're looking for, so that this assessment is targeted to meet your needs. From that assessment is goal setting and planning. An assessment is worthless without the recommendations and then the path forward. So what do you do with those recommendations? Well, as a team, let's get together. Let's talk about the goals. What goals does that student have for themselves? What do they want to learn? What do they want to get better at? What's hard for them? And as parents, where do you see their future going? What is it something that you want them to improve? Whether it's something in the house, becoming more independent, whether it's something in school, what is the next step? Now, these goals can be short-term or long-term, or a combination of both. But in order for success to happen, you have to have those goals, and then you have to set the path forward. So that's what the goal setting and planning is for, is to talk about those goals, how we're going to get there, and what time frame we want to have that in. So it is much like an action plan, and it gets us going and keeps us on track. The next is that specialized instruction. You need that explicit instruction. Students need that to target those skills that they want to improve. And so it's going to be based on that scope and sequence of what do we need to learn? What are those sub-skills that we need to get there? And what is the time frame that we need to get that in? And what is the best tools to use? There can be so many tools out there. There's only going to be a few that are going to support your child the best. Is it Martin Gillingham for phonics? Is it sight word? Is it vocabulary building? Is it handwriting? Is it manipulatives in math? Is it all sorts of different types of fidgets or calming strategies? What is that instruction? Coping skills, social skills, academic skills. What type of specialized instruction is going to be most important, and what tools are you going to use? So I would develop and use those research-based tools that most support your child in their goals. So it becomes very, very targeted. Now the next is transition planning, and this may fit your needs or it may not. Most of this transition services is for students coming into kindergarten or exiting school and looking into the job field or post-secondary education. I know there are some times where students are struggling transitioning from elementary school to middle school. So transitions are those big moments in life, and how do we pre-teach and prepare for that so students don't go in blind, they go in successful, they go in prepared, they go in confident. So any type of transition plannings, and this is very adaptable to students. So really whatever the goals are and the needs are and what the path forward is going to look like can be very different depending on the family and the student and the needs that they have. Educational advocacy, it takes a team. And as an advocate, one of my main roles and one of my main missions is to bring people together. I have been in multiple meetings with advocates, and there are times when advocacy is involved and it pulls teams apart, which has always confused me because we are always there, all of us are there for the student. And that's where we should keep our focus. So as an advocate, I want to bring people together. I want to remind everyone who we're there for and who we're there to support, and look at that individual student and see, as a team, how can we build a success for this student? What does it take? Because it does take everyone, and everyone needs to have positive communication, proactive communication, collaborative communication. We need to work as a team. And when that student sees us working as a team, success is inevitable. So as an advocate, I'm there to support you. I'm there to support your student and your child. And I'm there also to support the team, or try to figure out how we can collaborate on goals and how our goals may overlap with each other. Goals may not, but usually we can find a connection, because again, we all want what's best for the student. And you know your child the best. They know special education teachers and public administrators. They know the standards that they have to live, have to perform in, but they want what's best too. And they want to see your child succeed. So let's come together, but I'm there to support you. And with my background and understanding the regulations of IDEA and ADA, I will make sure that your child gets the services they deserve and need, and that makes sense for them, and that their goals are matched with yours. My number one goal is that student. That is the number one person I'm there for, and I'm there to be their advocate as well as yours. So if any of these services are interested in you, you can book right online. All the available services are listed. You can go into the services a little bit more to find out more information, and it's all there at your fingertips. There's a lot more on this website if you'd like to check it out. I have events that I'll record. I'll have events that are live webinars. There are also additional resources. There's groups. There's even a blog. You can also visit me on Facebook, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so all of those services, again, you can choose one, you can choose more than one, you can go through the whole process. But each one of those services will contain those pillars of success. So come visit at AbleandExtraordinary.com and look a little bit more into that website for more information. And the one thing I want to include in this presentation is that there's lots of assessments, there's lots of data, and that is very, very important, because that's going to help us all understand where your child is, but it won't tell us where they can end up. So having that good data is important, but that's why that goal planning is so, so important, to say, where do we want to go? And the instruction of how are we going to get there? And the advocacy to make sure we're all working together. So what do you think, what services will work best for your student? The assessment, goal setting and planning, specialized instruction, advocacy, transition. What do you think will work best? Again, you can pick one. You can pick two. You can pick all five. Whatever works best for you. So remember, you can book online. You can also pay online. Services are able to be provided online as well as in person. And with all COVID protocols, I will have that conversation with you and your family to see what works best for you, and what makes you feel comfortable and your child feel comfortable. What type of environment would work best for them? We could work at your home. We could work in a library. So again, it's a conversation of what environment's going to work best. If you're working on transition services and you want me to support your child as a job coach or job shadow and go out into businesses and help with interviews or interview other businesses and see what's like on the job, it's very, very flexible. So again, that would be a conversation to see what is the most appropriate for your child. So how do we get in touch? Well, again, you can visit me at AbleandExtraordinary.com. You can chat, you can send a message. I am on Facebook at AbleandExtraordinary. My phone number is 904-855-6528, so you can call me there. And I'm also I have email, which is AbleandExtraordinary@gmail.com. So you can get in touch with me whatever way works best for you. And I would love to hear from you and see how we can work together. So I honestly, at the end of the day, I just want to help. I love students. I see their potential. I have a passion to help them reach their potential, help them reach stars that they never even knew existed. And I'm here to help you through this process. It is not an easy process. And as a parent, there's lots of things to navigate, and you need support through that. And so I want to be there for you and your child, and work together to build their success and whatever that looks like. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you learned a little bit about Able and Extraordinary and what it has to offer. So please reach out if there's anything I can do, or if you have any other questions, or you would like to schedule a free consultation. I would love the opportunity to meet your child and meet you and see how able and extraordinary your child is. Thank you.